Or as I like to say, a delayed game can eventually be good. But the 8th season of Game of Thrones is forever bad or some shit like that.
You would.
Adventure time. Come on, grab your friends. We'll go to very distant land.
Well, hello there everybody, and welcome to a new playthrough. This is a game that I bought specifically for you,
For me.
because you introduced me to this show. And I was just like,
Come on, grab your friends. It's adventure time.
Yep, this is the Adventure Time video game for the Nintendo Switch. It's called Adventure Time Pirates of the Enchiridion. It's an RPG,
Yes.
based off the Adventure Time cartoon.
So, and then at the time of recording this, you haven't watched Adventure Time yet.
Not in its entirety. I've
You've
seen an episode here and
Yeah, well, I watch it. I love this cartoon.
there. Okay.
I would definitely say, like, it is one of my top tier.
I wonder if watching the entire show would allow me to understand this game better.
Oh, yeah.
Because the plot seems kind of like, hey, this is kind of like, because I looked into it, the plot takes place like right before the final season, but it's disconnected enough to where it's just like
Where
nothing
you don't have
matters.
to- yeah.
But
I
it
mean,
goes
even
right into
just,
the final
like,
season.
knowing the characters, knowing, like, who they are,
Mm-hmm.
I think would help make sense of the game. Because it's like, they do use Adventure Time lingo.
Yes.
So,
Well, this game also has the original voice actors.
yeah, which I think is really cool. We should start watching Adventure Time.
Yeah, why not? I think it'd be appropriate. So here we go. What's the story? Here we go.
See another comet. Man, I hope not. I don't think I'm emotionally prepared for that.
I think the creators, I'll continue after they're done talking.
Okay.
Vimo.
Oh, yeah. You better turn in. I'm still wide awake, though. I'm gonna stay up here for a while. How about you, Jake?
You know me, dude. I'm a non-stop stargazing machine. I can go all night.
Okay, good night. I almost forgot. For breakfast, do you want? Not again. Well, if they're late for breakfast, I will throw water on them and wake them up.
Freaking love Vimo. I really, really love how the creators of Adventure Time, I don't know if they like planned it or if it was coincidental or if they thought of it and then developed the idea later on and it just worked really well. But I like in the very beginning, anytime that Finn has like a dream about his future or there's an episode where like they're in the future, he always has an artificial arm.
Oh, okay.
So, and then they actually worked that into the story of why he has an artificial arm.
Nice.
And I just bring that up because in the game, he has his metal arm.
Yeah, you noticed that was like one of the things that's just like, oh, so this takes place towards the end because he
Yeah.
has a metal arm. And I was just like,
Well, especially because, like, towards the end, they don't have the Enchiridion.
okay.
So there's a situation where they don't have it anymore.
Interesting. So one of the things you'll notice is this game has ludicrous load times.
Yeah.
That is like flaw number one.
Yeah, it definitely has some things that could be better.
It's a game that I feel was like rushed because, the final season's
Yeah,
coming
gotta
out.
get
We
it
might as
out.
well just shove it out.
And again, I feel like it's one of
Whereas
those
just
things
a
where,
few
like,
more tests, a few more runs through the machine, and I think we'd have a very competent license game.
yeah. Well, and I think the thing with licensed games, it doesn't matter if they're good, I noticed.
Sometimes, yeah.
Because, like, super fans of the content are going to get it, whether it's good or not.
Right.
Just so that they have it.
So yeah, the plot of this game is basically all of Ooh has been flooded, and we have to find out why.
Wait, what about Bimo? He was down in the
Also, Bemo's missing.
Should we look for him?
He's a pretty good swimmer. He'll be fine. Set course for the Ice Kingdom. What's left of it.
God, this show hits me right in the feels sometimes.
Oh yeah? Oh my.
I think I'd like to do a video on, like, why I love Adventure Time.
Certainly.
Like, it's a weird, fantastical show that makes almost no sense. Like, it's definitely the dream of a child, like, you know, a kingdom made of candy and
Yeah.
living in a tree house, and, like, your dog is your best friend and he's magic.
It has a very, like, first impressions or just, like, nonsensical, who cares kind of vibe.
Yeah.
But the more you, like, stick around with it, I've noticed it has
It has such an honest
layers.
core. Like,
onions.
yeah. But, like, the core of it, I just think is something so special. Like, Finn learning to grieve, like, going into, like, a relationship and then getting out of that relationship and how to cope with that. And, like, going through the different coping mechanisms that most people would do. And then still not being okay and actually saying, like, I'm not okay. And that's the end of
okay.
the episode.
Wow.
And it's like, it doesn't resolve right away because that's how things actually work. So you have such real deep emotions in this show that is just so nonsensical.
Okay.
You have, like, different relationships throughout the show of, like, romantic relationships. You have, like, friend relationships, family relationships, and then you have other ones that are like the Ice King and Marceline.
Yeah.
Their relationship to me is so unique. Like, it's something that I don't think I'd seen before.
Gotcha.
And I just really love the way that they wrote that into the show.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about doing this game on the show is this is the first time where, like, you're a fan of the material,
Yeah.
and I'm the one on the
And you
outside
don't,
looking
yeah,
in.
don't know what it is.
Whereas usually with these games, it's the
You're-
opposite.
yeah.
I'm a fan or I'm familiar with the game, and you're just like, oh, what's this?
And I'm like, oh, I like this.
Or I'm not familiar with the source material.
Yeah.
I think the only exception is way in the beginning when we did the Aladdin game.
Yeah.
You've seen Aladdin before.
Yeah.
Aladdin's one of my favorite movies. It's a movie you like. I don't know how high you rank Aladdin, actually.
It's in my top of, like...
It's in your top?
Yeah.
Okay. The wedding can continue. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. The wedding can commence.
Okay, carry on.
But I really, really love Adventure Time. And I didn't watch it when it first came out. So, like, when did Adventure Time come out?
My
think it was,
cousin did. He
I
watched
think it was, like, the early 2000s.
Yeah, towards the beginning. Because, it ran for, like,
Okay.
9 seasons?
Yeah, it started in 2010.
Look at all these penguins.
So,
Can I
like...
do anything with the penguins? No?
So I was in college when this started.
Okay.
So A, I didn't have a TV. B, I didn't have cable. C, I didn't have a smartphone yet.
D, I didn't have electricity.
No. Well, I mean, like, 2010, like, smartphones were definitely a thing, but I was a poor college kid.
Gotcha.
So I was like, eating or smartphone? So I was like, oh, well, I'm also an art major, so
Okay.
should probably get
I
used to being
thought
starving.
the level was, like, glitching out, but if you look, the icicles are melting, so there's, like, little drips.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just like, okay, cool. That's supposed to happen. That's a game that we're going to be playing throughout this playthrough.
Is it a glitch,
Is that
or-
supposed to happen? Is it a glitch, or is it the game? You decide. So basically, I'm just going around slashing everything because the game encourages you to smash everything with your sword. You get money, you get items, and this
Yeah.
game gives you a buttload of items to
Oh,
use.
yeah. Some of them are really cool, too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually only watched Adventure Time for the first time all the way through during quarantine.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, and then I was just
about
like,
that?
I love this show. Like, there is not one character that I'm like, ugh. Like, I love all of them.
Wow. That's kind of like how I feel about the Owl House.
Yes.
It's just
Exactly.
like, wow, I like all of these characters.
Like, the Ice King can definitely get a little annoying.
I like that he's voiced by Tom Kenny.
SpongeBob! Yeah. He can get annoying, but he's also really funny. Like, he definitely has a lot of lines that I quote.
So, flaw number 2 of this game, The subtitles get a little whack sometimes. Like, sometimes you'll have, like, these huge paragraphs just
on the screen.
slapped on the screen. I'm just like, that could use, I don't know, either a text box or just be spaced out better.
Yeah.
Because it just becomes a little irritating to read.
Yeah. Like, I thought this was fun, interrogation time.
Yeah, this is a cool minigame that you can do with a lot of characters. So basically, it's good cop, bad cop. With Finn and Jake.
Ice King, what happened here? We can't help you if we don't know where to start.
How would I know? You think I have time for
But yeah,
this?
Marceline is definitely my favorite character in the cartoon.
Right, let's get to work. We'll
That's
take turns talking
one of
and
the first
do
clips I
something
overheard.
decently tough.
Daddy, why did you eat my fries? So basically, right here, you have to like bounce between good cop and bad cop, but you also have to get clues based off the character's reaction. Like sometimes you got to go full on good cop.
Yeah.
Other times, like you can mix in a little bit of bad cop to really push them.
Blast and somehow
So like the character's going to give you clues based off their dialogue, and you have to react accordingly. Most of the time, when they're whispering here, they'll give you a hint of
Yeah,
what you're supposed to be
what you
doing.
need to do. I love that you sang that song for days after we watched that episode.
What I liked the most about it was the boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
And then as he realized like she
That
was getting
sad.
serious, he was like, ba-da, ba-da, ba-ba. I was just like, all right, this got some shit. Another thing I really liked and want to see more about in Adventure Time, which, spoiler, is nowhere in this game, is the character The Lich. Voiced by
yeah.
Ron motherfucking Perlman!
Yeah.
He is a cool design.
I like
He reminds
The
me of the
Lich a
Horned
lot.
King from The Black Cauldron done right. And again, he's voiced by Ron Perlman!
Yeah. I really like the Lich.
freezing, it kept melting.
But no, the Lich isn't in this game.
To me, I
0 out of 10. Don't recommend. I'm just kidding.
Aw.
threw it away.
It's a fine game, but like again, it's clearly a licensed game,
Yeah.
and that is the biggest detriment. Is the game is very short. Like just when you feel like the game's getting somewhere, it's gonna wrap up.
Yeah.
And for an RPG, it's just like you want to try a little harder with the length.
Well, like I said, from my experience so far with licensed games, they're all very short. Mm-hmm. They're very glitchy.
They can be, yes.
And they're a joy simply because you like where they came from.
Yes.
So it's like most people playing like this game, yeah, it could definitely be better in the grander scheme of like an RPG game. However, they just like seeing Finn and Jake and being able to be Finn and Jake and
Right.
go on an adventure.
All right, so no more poo-pooing on this game for now. We have an adventure on our hands. Someone stole his crown.
Look at Finn. I also really love that Finn grows up throughout the show.
Well, like his voice actor, like the character grows with the voice actor.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, you hit puberty, time for a recast.
Yeah, time to get a new kid. Mm-hmm. But like he does grow up, which I just thought was really cool. Like his design doesn't change, but they reference his age.
His right arm says otherwise.
He's like, just kidding.
My
Lost
design
arm.
does change, lady.
I love all of the arms that he goes through.
Oh my god. So one of the things I actually really like about this game, that is in a lot of modern games, is the little counter at the top. When it goes up, you're far away from your
Oh, yeah.
desired destination. When it counts down, you're closer to where you have to go.
It
That
took-
really cuts the
It
mindless
took me
bullshit.
a hot minute to figure that out.
See, I played quite a few games like this, so it's just like, oh, nice, it has that feature. Cool. Because that's our destination, the Candy Kingdom.
But I do like how the maps and all of your things are set up.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that.
Okay.
Because I know for me, the menu is a big deal. Like, if the menu doesn't
Yeah.
make sense to me, I have a really difficult time.
Most of the game is sailing around. You can use Jake to, like, snag some coins and extra treasure and stuff like that. You can get into pirate battles. The boat is not perfect. There are a
it can be a
couple
bit
times where like it can be
difficult.
weird to steer, but like the boat is the least of the game's
I mean,
problems.
Finn is only like 15.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, this is about as accurate as I would actually drive a boat. But here we go. Here's our first battle.
The rogue banana guards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was probably pretty terrible. My mom let me drive a boat when I was like 7.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, it was terrible.
Oh.
Yeah, my pop had this like old speedboat boat that we used to take up to camp with us, and we would go like inner tubing on the lake.
Okay.
And my mom let us drive it.
Okay, so this is your standard turn-based battle system. That meter up at the top is basically your MP. So, like, you share, like, specials. So, if I use a special, that causes that meter to go down, which means Finn might not be able to use a special.
Yeah.
So, like, you have to plan ahead of, like, your special actions.
It's definitely
One of the
very
things I like, though,
strategy.
is, yes, definitely. But also, like, a beginner's strategy. Like, it's not too heavy on, like, intense strategy. It's more like, hey, realize what's
Yeah.
effective, what isn't, and also keep an eye on, like, enemy levels, which is very important. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes you'll see enemies around the field that are too high of a level, and you just want to avoid them. for
Yeah. I love the spin slap.
now. Oh, yeah? 2-2. I like that it hits multiple targets.
He just slapping everybody.
But if you use it too much, you can actually get Jake dazed.
Yeah. No, I think this is a really good, like, baby's first RPG.
Yeah, between this and Mario and Luigi. However, Mario and Luigi also relies heavily on reflexes
Yeah.
to dodge. Whereas this one, I think the only way you dodge is based off your stats. Like, there's a dodge stat that you have to put points into. And also, like, defending.
Yeah.
But there we go, victory!
But I do really like how
Woohoo!
it is
And
very
just like that,
similar
level
to
up.
a lot of other RPGs that I've played where you get to, like, who's going to be the warrior, who's going to be the spellcaster.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of get to build that character.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that's neat.
Alright, so that was our first battle. And we can upgrade our heroes. This is very important.
Yeah.
It can be very easy to just graze over this, but don't. So this is how you boost all of your stats. This makes later on a lot more tolerable.
Oh, yeah. So, and you can, like, give them better aim, you can make them faster, you can give them more health.
Yep, or
You
you
can
can
make
give
them
them
take
better
less
defense.
damage.
Yep. So I highly recommend. It costs money, but again, it's very easy to get money because just smash everything.
Yeah.
Or while you're sailing, snag. Because the only other thing that happens while you're sailing is Finn and Jake will bust out a little tune.
Yeah. So,
They'll start a sea shanty. So yeah.
I just started singing the Wellerman in my head.
What
There
will we do
once-
with the drunken whaler? What will we do with the drunken whaler? What will we do
Well, it's
with
the
the drunken
drunken sailor.
whaler? Early in the morning. There's different versions.
Oh, I've only ever heard it. What would we do with a drunken sailor?
It depends on the culture. Also, like, I think it has to do with, I don't know. I've heard both versions.
Okay.
I've heard Irish Rovers sing Drunken Sailor, and I've heard, like, Drunken Whaler from, it's either a movie or a video game. It was like a little Easter egg. And they said whaler. I don't know if it was to avoid copyright or what.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't think changing lyrics and keeping the tune voids you of copyright, but I don't know.
ask Vanilla Ice.
Good point.
Dun 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 dun. Dun.
Yeah. Touche.
That's such a weird line.
All right, off.
Well, there's Pink. That's good.
The biggest problem with this game is similar to the last story, but to a greater effect because the Switch is a more powerful console. This game likes to chug, especially as you're like loading
Yeah.
new islands and new kingdoms. The game will be like, hop, hop, hop. And
We're
like,
trying.
the boat will just freeze in there and be like, hang on, give it a minute. All
Yeah.
right, there's the island. Which I don't know if other versions of this game, because this game is available, I believe, on Steam, on like Xbox One, PS4.
I'm sure on like the newer consoles, it's probably
It probably
less
runs a bit
glitchy.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas the Switch version is always like the red-haired stepchild. So it's just like, well, we got a Switch version. Oh, Gelato Island. Interesting. Also, when you play games like Xenoblade Chronicles and Breath of the Wild, and you go back to this, it's just like, ugh. It's rough because like there's a loading screen every time you disembark.
Yeah.
Whereas those other games are a lot more clever in like just
And
seamlessly
yeah.
going to the next area. So it's just like, haha, modern technology means
Yeah.
we don't have to deal with loading screens. Wrong. It all depends on how you build your game.
Oh, these ones were hard for me. I died almost immediately.
Well, they are level 2. So let's see what we can do. I have an ice sword. Frost gun. Level 2, level 2, level 1. Alright, well, I want to take out the higher level guys first. That's a good start. Ooh. One of my helpful tips for this game is don't be conservative with your items. You get plenty.
Yeah.
If you take a bit of damage and you're just like, I don't think I'm going to survive, just chalk up
Yeah, just heal
a healing
yourself.
item. It's fine. Like, they're very easy to come by. They're not sparse at all. And there's a wide variety of healing items that have different effects.
I really like how they did the shops.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I also really like that. So that menu, how it's set up,
I like how
it's
it's
really
like,
easy for me
these
to
are
follow.
healing items. These are
Yeah.
items that buff you. These are items that get rid of debuffs.
Yeah.
It's very well organized.
Yeah, it's very easy to follow.
Yeah, the game has a lot of really great ideas that makes it like a perfect beginner's RPG. It is the performance that drags the whole experience down.
Yeah.
The game is just
Which
like...
again could be just because it's on the Switch. It
Or
could be
it
the
was
game.
rushed out.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, it is very common for them to be like, oh, that's a working game? Cool,
yeah.
I need it by Wednesday. But it's Monday. Chop, chop.
Be like, yeah, actually, I'm gonna need it Tuesday night.
Whereas, like, unlicensed games, depending on, like, the publisher and stuff, they
Have a
have the
little bit
benefit
more
of being
time,
like,
yeah.
hey, we're going to delay the release date because we need to work out some kinks.
Yeah.
Happens all the time. There's a very famous quote by Shigeru Miyamoto that a delayed game can eventually be good, but a bad game is bad forever.
Yeah.
And that has been known as his mantra. Or as I like to say, a delayed game can eventually be good, but the 8th season of Game of Thrones is forever bad or some shit like that.
You would. I
Mathematical.
literally have zero, want to even finish Game of Thrones.
It's fine to not fine. Like, there's clearly a drop-off point.
Yeah. Like, the last part that I saw was the Ice King rising. Like, the White Walker King.
Oh, okay. You
not
threw me for a loop
Not the
because I'm
Ice
just
King
like,
here.
eh?
You just... just in the distance.
Gunta, what the hell are we doing in Westeros?
Gunther, why did you good my fries?
It's rhetorical, Gunta. I can't do a good Tom Kenny. Tom Kenny is one of, like, the most talented voices that I just cannot mimic whatsoever. So I'm just like, kudos. Whereas I like to mimic the guy that does the voice of Squidward. I learned that, like, to do a good Squidward voice,
You gotta...
roll your head into your neck and then just kind of talk like this. SpongeBob! Here. Please hit me as hard as you can. Don't hold back.
Can
We
you do...
serve food here, sir.
Can you do it a little deeper?
Here, please hit me as hard as you can. We serve food here, sir. Daring today, aren't we?
Squidward.
I'm Squidward, he's Squidward. We're both Squidward.
We're all Squidward.
Finn's like, what the hell is with all the Nickelodeon references in a Cartoon Network game?
Yup.
It's like, come on, guys, get it together.
No, you know what?
Dexter's Laboratory,
I feel
Samurai
like-
Jack.
I feel like Nickelodeon kids and Cartoon Network kids were allowed to be friends, but God forbid if you were a Disney kid. You're too pure and you're not allowed here. Like, I feel... This is just me. I do this weird, like, categorizing in my head.
Go on.
And it doesn't always make sense. It really doesn't. Nickelodeon kids were the poor kids. Okay. Cartoon Network were like middle class.
All right.
Like, you know, they were fine, but their parents like struggled in secret. Disney kids were the rich kids. They didn't have to worry.
Where does PBS fall?
They were the homeschoolers. But I do that a lot in my head. It just like growing up, I was like, oh, Android users were the poor people and iPhones were the rich kids. When in reality, most Androids are actually more expensive than iPhones.
Yeah.
But it's like in my head, I'm always like, oh, Apple and Mac users are just like wealthy. And like PC and Android are like the poor people.
I got you.
And I don't know why. I don't know why I do that.
Every time I think of PBS, I think of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And there was a video I saw recently that really touched my soul of like Fred Rogers is in court, basically standing for trying to ask for the appropriate funding for the show and the network. And like the committee's just like, all right, I'll hear you out. And he talks about the importance of like children's education and how it's like very wholesome. There's nothing crude or nothing like bitter about the show at all. And then he like says a song that he wrote that is basically what the show is all about. And the guy ends by saying, I think that's wonderful. Well, you just won yourself $15 million. And like everyone's like has this sigh of relief. Because it was just very wholesome and like you could tell how genuine he was.
Yeah.
And Fred Rogers just had this way of like, not so much being persuasive, but just being like to the point where like he could get his point across and you knew where he was coming from. You knew how genuine he was.
Well, he is definitely a part of like the genuine trifecta. So it's Fred Rogers, Steve Irwin, and Bob Ross.
Yes. And like, despite like any weird stories you hear about like Bob Ross's origins and stuff like that, or Steve Irwin, like they were always just like very positive icons.
Yeah, I mean, they were wholesome, genuine people. At least that's what they inspired.
Whereas
is
there's a
wholesome,
couple
genuine people.
characters that like I may or may not name. We're like nearing the end of the episode, so maybe if you want, I can like bring it up or just tell you at the end of the recording. But there's a couple that's just like, well, why aren't they qualified? Because they have a knack to just be a little shady.
Well, the one I hear the most
Cynical.
is like, what about the guy from Reading Rainbow? And I'm like, he was a hired actor. So like, yes, he inspired like kids to read and to have imagination, but he was a hired actor.
Yeah.
It's not like
It's
how
not like
Steve
Fred
Irwin
Rogers,
genuinely
who-
freaking loved animals more than people.
Yes.
And he was not afraid to say that. Like, and how Bob Ross genuinely loved to paint and wanted to share the love of painting. Reading Rainbow, I'm sure he enjoyed reading,
Yes.
but like he was hired as an actor to play a part.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that 100%. Whereas Fred Rogers, like, those were his puppets.
Yeah.
He wrote those songs. Like, that was his investment and his
Yeah.
contribution, and he was very serious about it. So, like, that's why I consider them the trifecta.
Yeah.
The wholesome trifecta. All right, now that we have that out of the way, in the next episode, we're going to try to infiltrate the Candy Kingdom because something's gone wrong here.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Get prepped because we got a battle coming up.
Toodles!
Doodly-doo.